Is the CIA working with the cartels?
Yeah. I mean, short answer is yes.
They are.
Yeah, man. Not only the CIA, also, I guess every other agency in the U.S. or every three-lettered agency in the U.S.
DEA,
is
CIA, yeah.
FBI. Like most of those guys are collaborating with narcos, not only in Mexico but all through Latin America, man. And I mean, they're not. It's not like they're like smuggling drugs themselves, but it's like they're breaking deals. El narco, the drug traffickers in Mexico, the issue has gotten so big right now that it is easily, it's very easy to unstabilize a country through el narco, through violence, through drug trafficking, and all of that shit. And I know for a fact that some of these narcos, they don't even know they're being played by U.S. agencies to destabilize, the Mexican government or Mexican forces,
So what specifically is the U.S.'s involvement with these cartels? Like, you told me to watch that documentary on Amazon Prime, I think it's called The Last Narc.
The Last Narc. Mm-hmm.
Who was the guy's name? It was the Mexican DEA agent who was basically murdered by a couple drug lords, and there was a famous or a very well-known clandestine CIA agent there, Felix Rodriguez.
Exactly.
And they murdered this guy who worked for the DEA.
Yeah.
What is their specific involvement, and what is in it? What is the incentive to work together?
I think the involvement has a lot of layers. So one of the main layers is supplying aircrafts or legal entrance under the radar to drug into the U.S. I guess that's something that the U.S. has offered before, but there is a lot of collaboration out in the open. Talking about El Mayo, El Mayo Zambada, it's basically like the biggest narco now in Mexico. He has always been
El Mayo.
He started before El Chapo Guzman, and El Chapo Guzman was actually working under El Mayo Zambada. The thing is, like, he's too shadowy. No one really knows where he is. There's only one photo of him on the internet.
Really?
So no one has really, and that photo, it's like from the 80s or 90s, some shit like that.
Dude must be old.
So he's old now, and he's always been around. He has his people. I was personally at a party recently in Culiacan with his security people. He's basically his sicarios, his hitman group, and he's still in the mountains controlling the whole fucking business from Sinaloa. No one really knows where he is, how he looks right now. He's been too shadowy. But the thing is, 2 or 3 of his sons were arrested in the U.S. in different occasions, right? Like, so 2013, one of his sons was arrested in Nogales, and then another one in, I think, San Diego, something like that. And that family keeps dosing both governments, they're keeping out of trouble like El Chapo, right? El Chapo got life sentence, and these 3 kids of him, knowingly by the U.S. that they were trafficking and working under the biggest organization in Latin America, which is the Sinaloa Cartel. They're breaking deals with everybody. So they're in the U.S. One of them, it's actually free to go back and forth Mexico as a legal permanent resident of the U.S. The other guy just got his sentence reduced, so I think he's going to go out next month from jail. And the other guy received, they changed his whole identity, and he got like legal status to stay in the U.S. with his family and everything, and no one really know where he is. And El Mayo's still free. So when you see that, there has to be some involvement, right? I mean, it's not like they hired super fucking great lawyers that they can do whatever they want. It's because they're breaking deals with the U.S.
Yeah, I have a really good friend who's actually a lawyer who has represented some big drug lords in, I don't think Mexico, but definitely Colombia. And the way he describes the whole war on drugs to me is this. He says these guys who are hiring him to represent him, they'll fly him first class to Colombia, and they'll meet in, like, he'll be instructed to go to a lobby of a hotel and they call him up whenever they're ready.
Yeah.
And these guys do not get in trouble. These guys stay out of jail. They stay out of trouble completely. The guys who get in trouble are like the low level pawns, like the guys who are captaining the boats or picking up cargo or making shipments or moving shit around. Like it's the poor people who are like the foot soldiers are the ones that are getting in trouble and getting busted.
Exactly, definitely, man. And that's like let's call it like the simplest collaboration, right? Now talking about all the I don't know if you know this operation called Iniciativa Merida Initiative, where it's basically the U.S. funding millions and millions of dollars to Mexican security forces so they can fight against the narcos, right? They're basically funding weapons, vehicles, airplanes, training. And all of that stuff is ending up working for the narcos, right? Because Mexico is so corrupt as well. And the U.S. has done nothing but just wash their hands and say, like, okay, we're just going to train you and give you a lot of money and good luck with fighting the fucking cartels. A whole fucking town was killed by an elite group that was actually trained with the U.S. Marines. And so they were Mexican military elite group. They got like the best training with the best of the best in the U.S., like from Navy SEALs and all that shit.
Oh, so these guys actually were like born in Mexico, moved to the U.S. and were recruited by the Army or the Marines, and
they were officially trained by both countries, right? Like so, Mexico said like, okay, I need these people trained because they're like Mexican top elite military. Okay. So they trained them, and after training and giving them equipment and everything, they started fleeing the Mexican military and jumping and going to work with a cartel, with Los Zetas. But they still got a lot of links and contacts inside the Mexican government. So there was a time when the Zetas had a snitch inside them. So the snitch was giving information to the U.S. authorities, to the DEA specifically, about the movement of these guys, where these guys were shipping drugs from, cargoes. So they started like busting a lot of cargoes from Los Zetas, right? The thing is, the DEA called the Mexican army and said like, hey, we got a snitch on your side, and I think you should talk to him. He's a pretty good contact. He's inside Los Zetas and all that shit. And of course, that group in the army leaked the information to Los Zetas, right? Because they were getting money. So they're like, hey guys, watch out! You got a snitch on your side, and I'm getting this information from the DEA directly. And that's why you're getting a lot of drug busts. And what they did, because they didn't know who the rat was, so what they did is they killed a whole fucking town in one night, one day. We're talking about like a whole families, a whole fucking town.
How many people?
It was by the hundreds.
Jesus.
So they killed a whole fucking town.
How long ago was this?
I think it was in 2011 or something like
2011.
Something like that. There is a Netflix show, a series called Somos.
Somos, yeah, I've heard of that.
Exactly, and it's about that massacre, man, and that was fucking crazy, and that's another proof of the involvement of the U.S. right, sharing information with people that is not properly vetted,
right,
not taking care of their informants, all that shit.